Apologies. Welcome members, officers, honorary alderpersons and any members of the public viewing at home to this evening's council meeting. Please be seated. Before we start our meeting, on behalf of the council, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to the family, friends and Collingwood College community following the devastating tragedy last week. Would you all please stand and join me in a minute's silence? Thank you. Please be seated. There is no fire drill planned for this evening. If a fire alarm sounds, please make your way from the chamber using either the fire escape to my right or via the stairwell that leads off from the lobby outside the chamber. Please can I also ask you to ensure your mobile phones are switched off or on silent. Ms Willis, may I please have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Mayor. I've received apologies from Councillor Johnny Cope and Councillor Sashi Marvagnam. Councillor Helen Whitcroft is joining the meeting virtually, and I have been advised that Councillor Mark Gordon is likely to arrive late.
Thank you. So, moving on to agenda item 2, I propose that the minutes of the meeting of the council held on 10th of December 2025 be approved as a correct record. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to second that motion.
Is that agreed, members? Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests to declare in relation to the matters which are to be considered at this meeting? Can I remind you that the Members' Code of Conduct specifically refers to you being able to vote on the council tax setting? There's no need to declare any interest for these items. So, Councillor Graf.
Just to say that I've got a shop in Windlesham, just about the CGR that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to say that in relation to the CGR, myself and a number of fellow councillors obviously wrote a letter some time ago for the previous CGR in Windlesham, and that I also sit as a Windlesham parish councillor, and I have met a number of people obviously in relation to this. Thank you.
I'd just like to say I'm a Windlesham Parish Councillor and I'm Chairman of the Parish Council for item 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to say I'm honoured to be a Parish Councillor in Windlesham Parish Council as well, and I did write a letter about 2 years ago requesting CGR, but it's a non-pecuniary interest and I come to this with an open mind. Thank you.
Agenda item 4. I'm advised that 2 questions have been received from members of the public under Council Procedure Rule 10. Mr Murphy, would you like to come to the microphone and read out your question, please?
Mayor, my question on 22nd of October asked for agreement that the CGR must consider that our representative democracy depends on engagement with the community being served by those elected to represent it. The leader, Councillor MacDonald, gave me a yes. The people of Windlesham Village have given a resounding yes to the essential question in the recent consultation. The 38% level achieved far exceeds the suggested target level and any other similar exercise in public engagement locally. As their absence is at the heart of the need for change, would members agree that in the next phase, greater emphasis must be put on bringing about the, quote, improved community engagement, more cohesive communities, and better local democracy? That's terms of reference, second page, first paragraph. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Murphy. I've been advised that the Leader of the Council, Councillor Sean MacDonald, would like to respond. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Tony, for your question and for your ongoing interest in engaging in the Council's affairs as it impacts Windlesham, where I know you also assist in cascading information to residents in good faith. I need to start by addressing one point of potential difference of interpretation. The published guidelines from the government for CGRs makes no specific comment on a target threshold response level or percentage in favour of change required, or indeed the product of these. I, for one, wish it would, as it would make life a lot easier for officers to make clear recommendations and members to make better informed decisions. However, coming back to the point, the Council's motion sets no specific binding targets, stating the Council will continue to take note of historic, recent and ongoing community governance reviews, outcomes nationally, to guide its assessment of support for any change from the status quo. However, indicatively, strong support might be signalled by, and then it goes on further. To answer your question directly, yes, it is always in the interest of all residents to see improved community engagement, more cohesive communities and better local democracy, which is part of a natural continuous improvement mindset for all those in public bodies. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Mr Murphy, would you like to ask a supplementary question? Thank you.
In relation to any recommendation about the number of councillors to be established, will members agree that there are no rigid, legally fixed, uniform rates applied nationally, as each parish is considered flexibly on its own merits or needs? The research referred to is about the electoral equality ratio applied by the Boundary Commission for principal authorities. It is applied differently and less strongly to parish council as equitable for wards within a parish council. The only legal requirement is for a minimum of 5, and in practice there is considerable variation, but the evidence of experience and of wider research suggests that 7 is the magic number, below which it is likely to be unrepresentative, and above which it's more likely to be talk shop.
Thank you, Mr Murphy. Councillor MacDonald, would you like to?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you for your supplementary question. I think we're all aware that in principle in this country we want one vote per person, and we want each vote to have equal weight ultimately. And therefore, when that then gets transferred to the application of ratios within parish councils or even within constituencies, the principle is there that we want to see it to be roughly the same ratio. I think the extremes when it comes to the constituencies are the comparison between some areas of urban dwellings, potentially London, Birmingham, etc., and then places like Ynys Môn and Elan Sar, the Western Isles and Anglesey respectively, where the ratios don't quite work. So when we then drop that down to the parish level and parish councils, we do see the same thing. We do see quite a large variance in terms of the ratios between the numbers of councillors and the numbers of electorates, and I think that's reasonable and appropriate. I understand and accept the numbers that you're quoting. We see that in the relevant guidance. There are a couple of other sources that suggest numbers should be potentially higher, but those are also quite dated sources as well. So the research hasn't really been updated in the last couple of years. So it will ultimately be something that we will consult on should the council decide to move forward with the officer's recommendation later tonight. And then we will be guided both by the wishes of the residents and obviously the legal side from the monitoring officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, and thank you, Mr Murphy, for your question. Sorry, now I'll ask you just to turn the microphone off. Thank you. Question 2. The question has been submitted on behalf of Chobham Action Group, and we have Sharon Underwood from Chobham Action Group joining us online. Ms Underwood, would you like to read out your question, please?
The Chobham Poor Allotment Charity, CPAC, is charged with stewardship of many community assets in Chobham and West End. Its trustees appear to believe that they should have no accountability to the public. We are grateful to this council for writing to them and share your frustration with their lawyer's reply. People are losing their precious allotments. With 1.4 million invested, only 21% of their income was distributed to charitable purposes. Even paying lawyers to act against public interest in lobbying for modification to neighbourhood plan and local plan. The Charity Commission recommends 3 to 5 year term for trustees with a maximum of 9 years. All of the trustees have been in office for more than maximum, and at least 2 of them for over 21 years. CPAC employs trustees' family members and has prevented parish councils from appointing trustees. Injustices are being perpetrated covertly against public interests. Can the council help?
Thank you, Ms Underwood. Councillor MacDonald, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Ms Underwood, for your question. You're probably aware that my response was framed assuming that Jack was asking the question, so just bear that in mind, will you, in the way I respond.
Of course.
I'm not sufficiently dynamic to update it as I go. Thank you. So thank you for your question and for supporting coordination in good faith of Chobham residents concerned about these issues. The administration is committed to campaign for residents and to transparency as a value. So where the facts dictate appropriate resident concerns, we will lend our support anywhere in the borough. You have highlighted a few fact-based concerns in your questions relating to governance of this organisation and other issues in the Chobham Action Group letter that went to the Charity Commission recently. The regulator for this area of civil society is the Charity Commission, and the Council has no relevant powers. All we can do beyond holding members to our own code of conduct is influence and support, so residents get the transparency they deserve in line with the governance code in place for best practice charity management, and any governance gaps are addressed through Charity Commission intervention. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Ms Underwood, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
I do, thank you. The Charity Commission has written that Chobham Poor Allotment Charity is, quote, responsible for managing a community asset. A community asset surely belongs to the community, and the charity should not be able to sell an asset, which, in principle, it does not own. The Small Holdings and Allotment Act 1908 obliges councils to provide allotments and allow compulsory acquisition of land. we would propose that SHBC acquire the land from Chobham Port allotments. CPAC accounts for 2024 submitted to the Charity Commission gives the cost of total land assets of £15,000. Purchased land is other than gifted by Earl of Onslow to the people of ancient parish of Chobham, which it would appear to be valued at zero by the charity themselves and could be acquired by the council for the same amount, i.e. at no cost. Surely this warrants closer examination by SHBC as a viable route to preserve the land for its original purpose for the benefit of the parishioners of Chobham and West End. I also, if you permit, have a few snippets from statements from allotment holders. Ari, aged 3.5. I like going to Nanny's allotment. We dig the ground and
I'm
plant
sorry,
seeds.
Miss Underwood, I'm so sorry, that isn't part of the question, so sadly
okay.
we can't allow it, but thank you so much for your time.
Very welcome. Thank you for listening.
Would Councillor MacDonald like to respond?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll give it a go, but I think we'll have to do some follow-up on this one. So I have to admit I'm a bit rusty on the Small Allotment Act of 1908. It hasn't so far been in my reading pile since taking over as leader of Surrey Heath Borough Council. But I'm certainly happy to take away the action to consider what you're proposing. I think this is now the second charity, though, where we've seen that the valuation of the land on the books and potentially what they think the market value is are two completely different things, and that will obviously be relevant in the council's assessment of what is feasible or not feasible. But I'm happy for us to take away the action, and I'm sure there'll be some officers delighted to reacquaint themselves with the Small Allotments Act 1908 and various other relevant legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, and thank you, Miss Underwood, for your questions.
Thank you.
Item agenda number 5, my announcements. As always, I've been incredibly busy since our last meeting, starting with a number of festive events, which included the annual prize giving for the Sea Cadets, the Jingle Jog in Frimley Lodge Park in aid of the Frimley Park Hospital Charities, and the annual Open Day at the Disability Initiative in the company of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Edinburgh. The care and dedication of the team at the Disability Initiative continues to be an inspiration to me, and I found out this morning during a woodworking session at the Camberley District Men's Shed that they also play a part in enhancing the lives of those attending Disability Initiative by running workshops there. On Christmas Eve, I joined the Frimley Park Hospital Ministry team to sing carols around the wards to hopefully cheer up some of those unfortunate enough to find themselves in hospital over Christmas. Christmas Day was a wonderful day with visits to local care homes and a shift on the delivery vans with our fantastic Meals at Home team, who certainly enhanced so many lives, delivering hot, nutritious meals with a friendly face and cheery chat to our residents. We also popped into the Camberley Fire Station and the police offices to thank those blue light services for keeping us safe at a time when I'm sure they would have rather been at home celebrating with their loved ones. New Year saw me celebrating with our friends at Cox Hill Manor. In January, we achieved the journey of a lifetime. After an earlier invitation from the government of Tamil Nadu in southern India, myself, my consort and the Deputy Mayor and a small delegation from St Peter's Church in Frimley went to celebrate the life of a brilliant man who built a dam. Colonel John Pennycook, born in India and buried in St Peter's Churchyard, built the Mullaperia Dam in the Western Ghats Mountains, which enabled areas of farmland around the city of Madurai to become fertile. 130 years on, he is still revered by these gracious communities, and we joined them in their annual celebrations of Pongal, a celebration of harvest and the birthday of John Pennycook. We decided to combine the celebrations with our annual holiday. Travel for the whole trip was self-funded by the participants. During our 6-day visit, we met government ministers at the annual Tamil Diaspora. We celebrated Colonel Pennycook's birthday with the farmers of the Mellow district in Madurai at the John Pennycook bus station, and a parade along the main street with local bands and dancers leading the way. We met a number of people named Pennycook in his honour, and we celebrated Pongal with the people of the Pennycook district of Theni. We met the Chief Executive of the Madurai Corporation, who explained how the dam was now providing drinking water for a city of over 2 million people, and we went to see how water from the dam is now generating hydroelectric power for the area. The welcome we received from the Tamil people was truly humbling, and seeing the reverence for Colonel Pennycook as they wrapped his statues in shawls and garlands of flowers and our delegation was amazing. I hope that our visit has built a bridge of friendship between our two communities, and I would like to see if we could build upon the legacy of Colonel Pennycook and increase awareness of his works within our borough. I would like to thank the delegates from St Peter's Church who accompanied us, and I would particularly like to thank Santana Beer Oli Ibrahim of Crescent Meditours for ensuring that the logistics of this trip went without a hitch. Since returning, it is great to see the regeneration of our town, and with a visit to Collards at the old Alders site, my grandsons were very jealous when they saw the size of digger I got to sit in. Camberley Careers Fair at the theatre is always brilliant at showcasing what is available to our job seekers in the area. Many local employers, together with our partners at the Department of Work and Pensions and Job Centre Plus, working hard together to help our young people find employment. Another ribbon cutting saw the new training academy for Zenda on the Watchmore Park Industrial Estate officially opened. This state-of-the-art training academy, one of a number of that the company has around Europe, will train technicians on the installation and maintenance of heating, ventilation and air conditioning systems. Attendance at the Dementia Support Group at Lakeside, followed by a super afternoon singing with the team who run Melody for the Mind, observing the challenge to build a vehicle at Tomlin's Coat, the event organised by Satro, Carwarden House Careers Fair, a lovely afternoon with pupils, and volunteers at the Quest Riding for the Disabled in Chobham. The 90th birthday party of the Lightwater WI rounded off my very busy start to 2026. The dedication of all the people across our borough that I meet continues to inspire me, knowing that we live in such a great community. Thank you all for listening. Agenda item 6. I would like to invite our leader, Councillor MacDonald, to make some announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd first like to echo your condolences to the Collingwood team, and especially the friends and family. Shortly after my own father passed away in first year of secondary school, I also lost one of a gang of 3 lads that did everything together growing up to leukaemia. I, like others here, no doubt, have some feel for the trauma of loss that the young people are now facing. I know Councillor Garrett, with another hat on, will ensure that we are all made aware of anything the Council can do to positively support the school community in the days ahead. I'd also like to thank yourself, Mayor, and the Deputy Mayor and the Consort for your outreach to our Indian cousins and for building those bonds of friendship. I am pleased to announce a massive step forward in progressing the Surrey Heath Local Plan, which will guide development to 2038. Following several years of dedicated work and extensive public consultation, we have received positive news from the Inspectorate overseeing the examination, who has indicated that the plan is likely to be found sound and legally compliant, subject to a number of so-called main modifications, which are in reality fairly easy to address. I'm sure we would all like to thank Kieran Bartlett and Jane Reeves and the wider planning team involved for their efforts. As part of the drive to deliver much-needed homes in the west of the borough, I was pleased to see the planning application to bring forward the new St Catherine's Country Park SANG was granted at our last Planning Applications Committee, which secures this wonderful green space from any future development. we now have the opportunity to deliver a new high-quality green space that can be enjoyed by the public whilst also supporting town centre regeneration. Set-up of the facility will now happen, targeting next winter completion, hopefully. Works are due to commence this week and last for about 5 weeks on the resurfacing of the Lightwater Country Park car park and access road, including enhanced pedestrian walkways, improving the access to Lightwater Country Park and Lightwater Leisure Centre. This is a wonderful example of collaborative working between the council and our partner Lifestyle Leisure and local stakeholders in Lightwater Playing Fields Association to improve facilities for all our residents. All areas of parking will remain free and accessible to all on a first-come, first-served basis as today. We are also shortly submitting a planning application for the upgrade to the car park at Frimley Lodge Park, enhancing access to one of the borough's busiest and most valued green spaces, and of course the Basingstoke Canal towpath. Assuming approval, this will unlock additional benefits for the users of the park, again free at the point of use, with all work scheduled for completion this summer, probably starting in June. Amongst our extensive playground improvement programme, I am pleased to confirm that we will very shortly be breaking ground on the replacement of the Avenue Susie play space. And I would like to thank Councillor Rowlands for his advocacy for this over a significant period of time, but it's great to see it coming forward. This is a wonderful example of a shared enterprise between Surrey Heath and Accent Housing Association, which will bring forward much improved play equipment and enhanced open space in an area severely limited in options. We hope to be commencing works in March with a grand opening planned for May. Which mayor will get the honour, we don't know yet. Given the rapid pace and scale of projects in the leisure area, I think we would all like to thank Sue McCubbin and especially Nikki Sherlow, as well as the support team in all the other departments, for their efforts in delivery of these once-in-a-generation legacy-defining projects for residents of all ages. Whilst it feels some time ago now, I was delighted that our current much-respected mayor was able to open the new Changing Places facility in Camberley in late December. This is a long-awaited and much-needed facility which provides vital support for residents and visitors with complex mobility needs. Due to the increasing maturity of our population on average as a borough, yes, it's true, everyone, this really helps unlock an improved quality of life for more residents and drives footfall into the town. By way of an update on local government reorganisation, officers have started working with colleagues across the Surrey councils and representing Surrey Heath Borough Council in key work streams as we prepare the transition towards the new West Surrey Council. The Joint Committee for West Surrey has now met twice, including today in Staines. I am encouraged by the level of collaboration from across the members and officers involved, independent of party or council, to deliver the best outcome we can for West Surrey residents. From memory, I think today we covered the setup of the independent remuneration panel for the allowances and such like for the new council members. And we also covered a review of the implementation plan, and we also covered the appointment process and details around it for the interim chief executive and other statutory officers. For my sins, which as you know are many, I am actually on that appointments committee. Big thanks to Nick Stevens for leading us all locally through this change, as well as wider West Surrey. I am delighted to see some of our officer team moving into key full-time roles in the implementation team shortly to ensure West Surrey is set up right. I hope members will fully respect boundaries of any interim backfill arrangements put in place in due course to avoid the risk of burnout of any of the officer crew. We have joined the Employers' Initiative on Domestic Abuse and have updated our policy and approach to better support employees and counsellors on this important topic. I would encourage everyone to look for the signs of domestic abuse and help victims access the support needed to move forward with their lives without fear. Moving on to property. Central government grant and council-funded site preparation works on the London Roebuck continue safely on schedule and on budget, with negotiations continuing with potential developers to deliver a sustainable and transformational regeneration development scheme. DWP funding has been secured for another year for the workshop, noting the great work done by the officer team for local people to put them into work since its inception. Council property portfolio optimisation continues with disposal of the Theatre building, part of Yorktown Car Park, Obelisk Way, Wood End Road Car Park and the rear of 361, 365 London Road, all approved by the Executive and are either in progress, exchanged or completed, reducing the Council's legacy huge debt position, funding transformation, local government reorganisation and ongoing investment in the borough, thereby saving taxpayers money from being spent on interest payments. One major area of investment continues to be the square, given the state inherited in May 2023, with completed priority repairs and improved maintenance now largely stopping the roof leaks. No more buckets. The next phase approves see fire sprinkler and smoke ventilation renewal works, with plans in hand to bring forward main square car park improvements, including lift reliability. These enhancements will continue to improve the town's attractiveness to retailers, residents and visitors going forward. The Council's industrial portfolio has gone from strength to strength with further lettings and a key lease renewal completed with Amazon. It may get mentioned later, I think it probably will. However, given our administration's agenda has been dogged by inherited property debt, missing historical accounts, lack of past external audits, and inaccurate reserve estimates passed on, it would be remiss of me not to call out special praise for the finance team under Vicky Radford and ably supported by Julie Rowley for the slick budget process this year. More importantly, though, was the delivery of comprehensive accounts and completion of the external audit process on time. Whilst we are still on a pathway to full assurance, due to their efforts, we will remain on track with fewer and smaller impact compliance surprises each year. Thank you to all involved in correcting issues not of your or our making. Thank you, Mayor. That ends Leaders' announcements.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Moving on to item 7, executive committees and other bodies. Executive minutes. Can I have a proposer for the executive minutes? Councillor MacDonald.
I'd like to propose the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Are you happy to receive these minutes? Planning Applications Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Planning Applications Committee minutes?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Omani. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to second these minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Members, are you happy to receive these minutes? Performance and Finance Scrutiny Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Performance and Finance Scrutiny Committee minutes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to propose the minutes for the 21st of January.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second the minutes of the Performance and Financial Scrutiny Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Noble. Members, are you happy to receive these minutes? Audit Standards and Risk Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Audit Standards and Risk Committee risk minutes, please?
I'm happy to propose the minutes for the 25th of November and 3rd of February.
Thank you, Councillor Raikes. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second those proposals.
Thank you, Councillor Beckham. Members, are you happy to receive these minutes? Employment Committee minutes and recommendation. Can I have a proposer for the Employment Committee minutes and the recommendation at minute 22/EC?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to propose those minutes together with the recommendation, which I heartily endorse and hope everybody else will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitcroft. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Finan-Cook. Members, are you happy to receive these minutes and agree the recommendation? Thank you. Licensing Committee minutes and recommendation. Can I have a proposer, please, for the Licensing Committee minutes and the recommendation at minute 17L?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose those minutes of the Licensing Committee and the recommendation contained therein. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quinn. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hode. Members, are you happy to receive these minutes and agreed recommendations? Agreed. Can I have a proposer for the notes of the Joint Staff Consultative Group?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose the note on the Joint Staff Consultative.
Thank you, Councillor Glower. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Pining-Cook. Members, are you happy to receive these notes? Agreed. Agenda item 8, the setting of the council budget and council tax for 2026-27. Members, before we start the debate, can I remind you that the rules of the debate about the number of times you may speak are in the Constitution, and the Chief Executive and his officers will advise as necessary. Once the budget has been introduced, proposed and seconded, you will be invited to debate the budget. Any amendments to the budget must be moved, seconded, then debated. Once an amendment has been moved and seconded, you can only debate that amendment. Please can I ask you to be clear that you are moving an amendment so I can invite a councillor to second it. Anyone wanting to move an amendment can speak for up to 8 minutes. Anyone speaking in the debate, including seconding an amendment, can speak for up to 5 minutes. Anyone seconding any proposal must speak immediately after seconding that proposal, and they have no right of reply. Please can I also highlight that some of the documents were updated following the meeting of the Executive last week. I would like to invite the Performance and Finance Portfolio holder to move a proposal.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the proposal and I reserve my right to speak.
Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to second that and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Councillor McIntyre, I now invite you to introduce the report on the annual revenue budget and medium-term financial strategy.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the recommendations set out in the updated agenda report, plus I want to include an additional decision that members' allowances are frozen at the current rates. I saw in my school's yearbook that I was given the dubious accolade of girl most likely to become Prime Minister. That didn't come from any overt political ambition. It came from a reputation for getting things done, taking responsibility, and caring about the well-being and success of the community around me. I have not been the most overtly political individual during this term, and that is because I simply do not believe that doing the right thing for our residents requires us to argue for the sake of performance. And in particular, when it comes to the budget, where there are very few options available to set a balanced position, the benefit to residents of arguing without progress is negligible. So to that end, I am confident that fellow councillors in this chamber tonight, having not brought forward any alternative proposals through scrutiny or at last week's executive, will support this proposal in tonight's the budget's final run-through. I'm a Liberal Democrat and I'm proud of that. But tonight I'm asking everyone to forget the colour of their rosette and remember why they stood. This room is full of individuals who have put themselves forward for a role that, let's face it, not many others are willing to take on. Even those of us who are not active on social media find ourselves misquoted and misrepresented by small-minded, politically charged, self-interested individuals, something they wouldn't need to do if they had any substance of their own. So tonight, this is the last budget I will present for Surrey Heath. I am proud of this budget. I am proud of the work that officers have done to get us here. Within the Finance Department, under the leadership of our dedicated and talented Section 151 officer, Mrs Radford, and across the rest of the Council, whether that's officers working hard in the supporting functions or tirelessly working on the front line, providing the services our residents rely on. I am proud of the commitment councillors, and especially this executive, have shown making difficult decisions, even when those decisions may not have been the most popular in their individual wards. The ability to set a balanced budget tonight is only possible because of the savings we've made to date. It is true that a significant portion of these savings achieved since 2023 have been absorbed by increased interest rates, a consequence of the Council's exposure following the historic town centre purchases, by inflation, which is now baked into our costs, that took on a life of its own, much like the slowly decaying lettuce, and by the indirect impact of those same pressures on our major commercial contracts. Even without these economic crises, the cost reduction exercise required to ensure the sustainability of Surrey Heath Borough Council was significant, and we've taken over £5 million worth of net cost out of our base. And when the net cost of services is 18 million, 5 is a huge figure and has allowed us to remain viable for longer than we would have otherwise. While this is good news, and while we will have a small general fund balance going into the new West Surrey Authority, the MTFS shows that we would have entered a negative reserves position in 27-28, requiring exceptional financial report had we remained a standalone authority. This is why it was imperative to produce not only the minimum requirement of the 26-27 budget, but also the 3-year medium-term financial strategy for transparency with our future partners. And any authority choosing not to produce the full suite of expected documents is, in my view, being negligent in its approach. And let us hope that is not because there's something they are trying to hide. We have continued with the same principles as previously. User pays, where the service is discretionary insofar as is possible. We have reviewed the council asset portfolio and sought to unburden the taxpayer with maintaining assets which are no longer working for the council. We have given options to use capital receipts for other capital programmes, fund transformation, or reduce the debt burden. The indirect impact of this is also a reduction in revenue spend, where previously internal resources were needed to support the portfolio of assets, allowing Office to focus on our actual priorities. So turning to the numbers for the next 12 months, and I'm doing this in the non-public sector way by starting with funding. Council tax. The Surrey Heath Borough portion is proposed to be increased by the maximum permitted without a referendum, so 2.99%, where each 1% equates to roughly £100,000. That gives us a total of 10.6 million, or 59% of our net cost of services. Business rates retained in the borough of approximately 2 million, which is only 2.8% of the total business rates that we collect. Non-specific government grants of around 3 million. Direct cost of services are just over 12 million, with over 5.5 million in indirect costs, which is predominantly the interest payable on our 170 million loan balance of 6 million, over half our council tax and business rate income. Interest receivable of nearly 500,000, minimum revenue provision of nearly 3 million, resulting in total cost of services sitting at around 18 million. Our funding is only 16 million. That leaves a shortfall of over 2 million, which will be balanced by a drawdown on reserves. That leaves 9.5 million in specific earmark reserves, i.e. the element we cannot touch, 7 million in general earmarked reserves, and just over 500,000 in the general fund. That is not much. It is deeply regrettable that 60% of our residents' money is going on interest payments for buildings that will never deliver the return they were promised, including one that is currently out of use with limited benefit to residents. Indeed, the property portfolio is now being subsidised from the revenue account, resulting in even greater savings being required elsewhere. The Fair Funding Review, where review is the only accurate word, means a further reduction in funding over the period of the MTFS of nearly 30%. This means that, excluding council tax, the change to our core spending power is a reduction of 20%. That is neither fair, nor can it be called funding. The removal of the enhanced producer responsibility grant, the impact of legal discussions, and the increased cost of major contracts such as waste all come into play for 27-28. Costs have not been shunted forwards. They have been recognised in the year in which their impact is understood. I do not want anyone to leave here thinking that the next 12 months will be easy. They will not. there are significant risks. The economy can shift at any point, with direct consequences for our costs and for our residents. Global politics being what they are, an adverse shift should not be underestimated, and our transformation programme must deliver the remaining savings it promises. Our capital programme, where the impact on our revenue budget is the interest payable, also remains consistent with the maintenance, repairs and health and safety topics a priority. There is nothing exciting for residents to look forward to there, unless functioning lifts and new bin lorries can be considered exciting. And our officers, our people, they are going through enormous change and uncertainty. They have endured 3 years of cost-cutting, budget restraints, unfilled posts and deprioritised aspirations, and now face uncertainty about their own futures. We must not underestimate this. The Council is not a faceless institution. It is a group of individuals who have chosen to work in a sector where people, our residents, often vulnerable, come first. To the officers, thank you for your continued dedication. And talking of people, I would like us to agree to freeze the council allowances at the 2025-26 level, which only feels right. That's an additional saving of £10,500 that's not currently included in the budget. I will close with a quote from Einstein. What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right. Sometimes people in politics, including in this chamber, need to remember that, even when elections are around the corner. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Councillor Ashbury, would you like to now exercise your right to speak? Motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to add my thanks to the council officers, both in the finance team and the rest of the council, for their efforts in bringing this budget forward. 3 years ago, I, along with an army of volunteers, delivered this pamphlet to all homes in Surrey Heath, which probably makes us more efficient than some paid delivery services. This outlines the vision we had for this council should we be elected. The first point promised that we would secure the council finances. Remember, at that point, we had had no audited accounts since 2019, and our first step was to strengthen the finance team and begin the work to understand exactly where the council's financial strengths and weaknesses lay. I think it's fair to say at that point, to quote Donald Rumsfeld, we faced a lot of unknown unknowns. What we uncovered was not pretty, but through the work of the finance team and the Audit, Standards and Risk Committee, we found that MRP and interest payable were understated, and that when this was corrected, our reserves were somewhat lower than even we had thought. But at least we were now dealing with what Mr. Rumsfeld would call known knowns. At that point, we realised that general reserves would run out, forcing us into a Section 114 situation, with all of the ramifications that this could cause. Let us not forget that just over the border in Woking, council tax had to rise nearly 10% in an attempt to balance the books, something that we are keen to avoid for the residents of Surrey Heath. This administration, together with our committed officer team, launched the transformation programme with a target of reducing costs without severely impacting the delivery of the services our residents rely upon. We had some guiding principles in our deliberations, such as discretionary services should be paid for by those using the service and should not be a burden on council taxpayer. Through the transformation programme, £3 million of potential savings were identified and are in the process of implementation. Some of the changes needed to achieve these savings have not been universally popular, but in order to remain true to our election commitment to secure the council finances, they have been necessary. This time last year, when we reviewed the MTFS, it showed that our general reserve fund would reach zero partway through 2026. As you can see, our MTFS now shows a general reserves are sufficient to tide us over until mid-2027. I have said it in this chamber before and I will repeat it now. This is an administration made up of responsible people taking responsible decisions for the good of this borough. Talking of responsible actions, this administration has produced a full MTFS to accompany the budget, unlike some other organisations which we will soon be partnered with. This shows the impact that today's decisions on spending will have on future costs, which will give the new West Surrey Council transparency on the challenges they will inherit. Let us now look at the government's fair funding review and its impacts on Surrey Heath. Despite a council tax increase of 2.99%, following the loss of central funding, our core spending power for next year is only increasing by 0.9%. To a simple person like me, that feels like 2% of my council tax rise is being used to fund services elsewhere in the country and not in Surrey Heath. That doesn't feel very fair to me. Thank you, Sakia. Despite the fanfare that inflation is coming down today, 0.9% is still significantly less than the 3% announced this morning. So far this evening, I've focused on the cost-saving activities that have led to this budget. But I also want to mention some of the many positive spending decisions this administration has taken over the past 3 years. Firstly, investment in maintenance and repair of council properties, which had been sadly neglected. The square is now almost bucket-free. Keeping the lights on may not be a particularly rallying election promise, but not doing so seriously impacts our residents' experience, and I say neglect it at your peril. We have continued to pay revenue grants to support local organisations such as Citizens Advice and the Hope Hub. We have replaced or refurbished play areas in Frimley, Bagshot, Lightwater and Mitchett, with plans this coming year to do the same in Heatherside, Frimley Green, Camberley and Deepcut. A new skate park at Crabtree Park, high street improvements in Frimley and a substantial grant to West End Parish Council to refurbish the pavilion have all been recently approved. Resurfacing the car parks at Frimley Lodge Park and Lightwater Country Park are projects which have been deferred for years because of the complexity and cost. Procrastination is over, and these are planned and feature in this budget. People's enjoyment of our flagship parks will no longer be blighted by the state of the road surfaces. Despite the Section 114 sword of Damocles hanging over our head, I'm just wrapping up now, Mayor, thank you. Despite the Section 114 sword of Damocles hanging over our head, we have continued to invest in our communities. I am proud to be part of this administration. I am proud of what we have achieved. I am proud that we have delivered on our promise in our pamphlet of securing the council's finances. And I look forward to continuing to deliver on our commitments in this, the final year of Surrey Heath Borough Council. I commend this budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. I would now like to invite members to discuss the proposal and make any comments. Any hands? Councillor Lee. Oh, and then Councillor Whitcroft. Councillor Lee, thank you.
Oh, blimey, I didn't think waiting that long to put my hand up I'd end up being first. It's no secret that I'm not afraid to hold members and officers to account for poor performance, both in private and in public. One thing that stands out is the financial journey that this council has taken with a growing team of good officers. And I think it's fair to say that I absolutely echo the leader and others' comments around the incredible work that's gone in to trying to build the picture of what our finances looked like under the previous administration, so that we've got some shape of foundation to understand what we could do under this administration. And Vicky, yourself and others, I echo and support Sean's comments and feedback. It's been an incredible journey, and it's simply amazing to go from never seeing accounts, let alone having them being audited, to actually sit in an audit committee where we can actually go through them and hold them to account in a positive way. And it's been simply amazing. I mean, I just never imagined that the accounts wouldn't actually exist. When I was told I couldn't see them because I wouldn't understand them, the fact that they didn't exist was shocking enough. But the amazing work that yourself and your team put in is simply absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Whitcroft, please. Councillor David Whitcroft.
Thank you, Mayor. You caught me just writing my notes. This budget is just as dramatic as many of the previous, I think it's 50, might be 49, previous budgets which have been presented in this chamber. But it's dramatic in a very different way because, as has already been said, when we came into office in 2023, the plans and expectations that we had have not all been met, it's true to say. And this, as others have already said, is because of the financial position that we had to, first of all, establish finally. And once we'd done that, we had little choice but to adjust the plans we'd wanted to implement in coming to the administration. And we did that because we wanted to avoid the fate that befell our neighbours and the residents of Woking and Spelthorne. Residents in those areas have had to accept the huge expense of government commissioners and the enforced will of central government, rather than having control fully exercised by councillors democratically elected at the local level. So we have before us tonight a budget, and for the first time in history, I'm not going to comment at all on the detail of it, which, unless we are hit by extreme new circumstances, is going to take us through to the new council still in the black. And it has to be said that over the course of the last couple of years, that's looked very doubtful on some occasions. That achievement is due very largely to the 6 people sitting right in front of me here in our executive. And I'd like to pay tribute to all of them, particularly the leader, the finance portfolio holder, and the property portfolio holder, who has, over the course of the last couple of years, taken a bit of a hammering in achieving some of the necessary income development which has been required to get us to where we are now. I'd also like to congratulate myself, in fact, together with the other non-executive members, for actually having to accept that the plan we laid out in the book that Councillor Ashby held up earlier could not always be met. And we did that without too much moaning. And to be fair, one has to accept that most opposition members too have accepted the reality of the situation which is before this council, and perhaps I could say they've tempered their approach accordingly, and that's something which needs to be recognised too. But above all, and I think the rest of the councillors here tonight, as has already been expressed by a number of people, I want to acknowledge, in my exalted position as chair of the Employment Committee, the huge part the council staff have played in keeping the borough operating services for our residents, whilst at the same time maintaining financial solvency. There's 15%, roughly, less of them now than there were in 2023. And at the same time, as we've already heard, they've had to deal with LGR and the crazy timescales which have been accompanied that exercise. We read just last week from the commissioners in Spelthorne that there was a, unfortunately, dislocated relationship between councillors and staff in that particular borough. And that is a very sad situation, which I'm happy to say we have not experienced here. And that's due very largely to the leadership offered by our Chief Executive, who will deny it to the death, but nevertheless, it has to be accepted that that is the case, together, of course, with the senior management team. And they've driven through the transformation programme very effectively over the course, in particular, of the last couple of years, and avoided the dreaded Section 114 notice. A lot of councillors, or a few councillors, yes, I'm coming...
Just to highlight the time. Thank you very much. No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, without further ado, we've heard a lot about the debt of gratitude we owe to the staff. And what I'd like you to do, if you wouldn't mind, it's a bit unusual, I'd ask you to stand up, if you wouldn't mind at this point, so that we can offer our appreciation. Officers, by the way, have to stay seated. So that we can... Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Whitcroft. Councillor Garrett. Thank you.
Yes. I'm surprised there's not more of us speaking. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to echo the comments thanking the finance team, in fact all the staff, for the significant efforts in pulling these figures together. I fully support Councillor McIntyre's that the council allowances should be frozen rather than allowing the standard trajectory of increasing them in line with the staff pay. My only request is that resulting savings are ring-fenced to support worthwhile projects within our borough rather than being absorbed into general administrative costs. Furthermore, I want to echo Councillor McIntyre's remarks regarding the battles we often see in this chamber. Our residents elect us to represent their interests and improve their lives. I'm certain they do not do so for us to engage in regular bickering. With that spirit of professional cooperation in mind, I will keep my questions this evening focused strictly on the figures before us. Regarding the revised budget published yesterday, I have identified just several points that I just wanted to highlight. I think I might have heard about them when we were in the executive, but I just wanted to clarify. There's only three, and they won't come as any surprise. Waste vehicle, we're deferring 5 million for the new waste vehicles until 27-28 to reduce borrowing costs this year, which I understand. However, as maintenance costs for ageing fleet typically rise, have we factored in the increased revenue cost of maintaining these older vehicles for additional year? I'm concerned this may create a financial pressure that we will need to address later. The second point is the Gypsy and Traveller provision. The amendment moves 1 million for the Gypsy and Traveller provision for 27-28. Does this signal a delay in the delivery of our local plan obligations? If so, does it expose the council to a planning appeals, etc., and legal costs in the interim? And the final one, as a pressure in this budget is about 1.085 million reduction in retail property rent. Could you please clarify the primary drivers behind this decrease in rental income? That are the only three, because I think I've pretty much covered everything else at PNF and other meetings. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Any other members would like to say anything? Councillor McDonald.
Could I just clarify, Mayor, how we're going to answer Councillor Garrett's questions? Are they for the officers or are they for executive members? Or are we assuming that Councillor McIntyre will pick it up in her summation? The last, okay. Okay, in that case, I will, if it's okay with yourself, I will make my comments on the budget. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm conscious we want to get on to the main gig this evening, so maybe I'll keep my comments shorter than planned. First of all, I'd like to echo what Councillor Whitcroft said, particularly around the officers and the support of the Chief Executive. In 2023, this administration promised the borough a fresh start based on accountability, community and transparency. In our council strategy that we then developed, we said we would deliver for you and a fairer society. So we did just that. We said we would secure the council's finances after a decade of mismanagement. We have delivered. We said we would make council property work. We have delivered. In the year ahead, based on this budget and the annual activity plan behind it, we will continue to deliver for residents by campaigning to ensure the site of the new Frimley Park Hospital works for all stakeholders, by securing a seamless transfer to the new waste contract provider, by upgrading Lightwater Country and Frimley Lodge Park's infrastructure, refreshing many of our play facilities and establishing the new St Catherine's Country Park SANG. We will be adopting the local plan, increasing the protection of our green spaces from inappropriate development. We will also be working to ensure our staff are supported and treated fairly through local government reorganisation so they can continue to provide essential services consistently through this period of change. This administration will continue to deliver for residents until the final whistle is blown on Surrey Heath Borough Council. It will then ask for 3 cheers for the officers that have given such dedicated service. And I hope we can all shake hands and as we move on to new challenges, addressing West Surrey's property debts and the beggar thy neighbour approach of this national government to local government funding. My thanks to Leanne for her dedication to her finance portfolio role, and I also commend this budget to the Chamber. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor McIntyre, would you like to exercise your right to reply?
Thank you, Mayor. Right. I nearly covered your questions in my pre-prepared speech, but I know you like to throw things around a bit, so I'm going to answer them directly so that I don't miss them out. With regards to the waste vehicle question, the waste vehicles capital expense has been moved back, not to save debt, but because that is when the contracts are in place, and therefore the expenditure will not happen this year. So it's recognised that it has to be. The maintenance for the current vehicles is already included in the contract we have today, so there's no extra requirement for that. In terms of the GRT site, we have had that in the reserves as a line, in our capital planning line for a number of years. It hasn't been used. We aren't able to announce any plans for that site at the moment, so we thought it's prudent to strip it out, and we'll bring it back into the governance cycle as and when it's required. And I know that our planning policy team are looking at that. And in terms of rental income, that's quite simple. We've the analysis for what the future looks like in terms of voids, the rent that we're getting in for the different units has all been factored in. So it's all the information that we have to date. So thank you for your comments this evening. I was expecting more of them. But it's been gratifying to hear some of the positive reflections for our officers as well as our councillors. To sum up, I want to reiterate what I said earlier. This budget isn't political. If there were meaningful options, then yes, different groups might prioritise different services or capital projects. But the options available to us are negligible in their impact. Parking, a favourite topic in this chamber, which I was surprised wasn't raised tonight at all, can be debated endlessly. But shopping habits are changing across the UK, and we can only work with the reality that is in front of us. Property income, another favourite topic, and one that has far greater impact, does depend on occupancy. We have a diversified portfolio which helps, but all property must be occupied for income, to reduce costs associated with churn, and to provide a positive experience for residents and tenants. National changes to business rates do not help us yet either, nor do increased employment costs. Not to mention that we, the council, have to pay for the rates for voids, a further blow to our bottom line. There is little we can now do locally to mitigate those pressures. Clearly, not having the obligation in the first place would have been a better position to be in. Could we reduce services further? Yes, but not easily. Statutory services like waste collection illustrate the complexity. We must collect roadside waste. Curbside waste, actually, I think is what it's called, if I get hit by my fellow councillor. How often, though, is not defined. But would residents prefer the current service or a reduced one? I suspect the answer is obvious. And even then, the savings would likely be minimal once the set-up costs, capital purchases and overheads are factored in. Camberley Theatre is another example. We do not have to provide a theatre, but when it's full, vibrant and bringing people together, as it is when I was there on Sunday evening, it is hard to argue that it does not add value. It is also hard being a councillor. It's hard stepping into a role where you want to make a difference but find your hands tied by previous decisions. It is harder still to look back knowing you could have done something for the greater good and yet chose not to. So I want every councillor in this chamber to go home tonight, look in the mirror and know they've done the right thing for all residents of Surrey Heath, not just their own ward and not for their own personal agenda. Whatever your thoughts or personal aspirations, please believe me when I say that this budget has been put together with integrity, transparency, challenge, and for some, tears. It takes Surrey Heath to the next stage of its evolution without dismantling the services our residents have paid for through their hard-earned taxes. It remains the ambition of this administration to get the town centre working for residents again and to be a place where people do not want to drive past quickly on the A30, a place where residents can make use of well-maintained green spaces to improve their health and well-being, a community which has a voice and pride in its identity. We want our residents to get value from their local taxes and see that investment every day in local community groups, a well-maintained environment and support for the vulnerable. We want local councils to do what they do best and not take on roles outside of their intended remit. It is the only option to enable finances to balance in a sustainable way. I just hope that those of you who represent us in the future authority do so with the same principles. Embrace Sandhurst's motto of serve to lead, and to show that leadership now by supporting this budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Thank you, members. I would now like to move to the vote on proposal, including the additional amendment at which says about freezing councillor allowances. In accordance with the regulations, it will be necessary to record the names of members who vote for the decision or against for the decision or against the decision, and for those who abstain from voting. Ms Boateng will call out your name, and you are asked to indicate whether you are voting in favour or against the proposal or abstaining from voting.
Thank you, Mayor. Once I've read your name, could you just say whether you're voting for, against or abstaining? Alan Ashbury. For. Louise Ashbury.
For.
Cliff Betton. For. Kel Finan-Cook. For. Lisa Finan-Cook.
For.
Sean Garrett.
For.
Mary Glowett.
For.
Julie Howd. For. Dave Hode.
For.
Nirmal Kang.
For.
Sabi Kang. For. Rob Lee.
For.
Sean MacDonald.
For.
Leanne McIntyre.
For.
Emma Jane McGrath.
For.
Liz Noble.
For.
Jacques Olmo.
For.
David O'Mahony.
For.
Jonathan Quinn.
For.
Bob Rakes.
For.
Murray Rowlands.
For.
Morgan Rise.
4.
John Skipper.
4.
Pat Tedder. 4. Josh Thorne.
4.
Kevin Thompson.
4.
Ying Tong Perrott. 4. Victoria Wheeler.
4.
David Whitcroft.
4.
Valerie White.
4.
Richard Wilson.
4.
It's unanimous.
I declare the motion carried. Item 9, moving on to agenda item 9, I would like to invite Councillor McIntyre to introduce the report on setting the council tax for 2026-27 and then move a proposal.
I propose this motion and reserve my right to speak.
Councillor McIntyre, do you have a seconder? Thank you.
I'd like to second that, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Members, this is a technical report, and unless members have any questions with regard to figures, it is proposed to move straight to a vote. In accordance with the regulations, it will be necessary to record the names of members who vote for the decision or against the decision and those who abstain from voting. Ms Boateng, we'll call out your name and you are asked to indicate whether you are voting in favour or against the proposal or abstaining from voting. Ms Boateng. Can I just clarify if any of the members would like to speak? We'll move to the vote.
Alan Ashbury. 4. Louise Ashbury.
4.
Cliff Betton. 4. Kel Finan Cook. 4. Lisa Finan Cook. 4. Sean Garrett.
4.
Mary Glowett.
4.
Julie Howd. 4. Dave Ho.
4.
Nirmal Kang.
4.
Sabi Kang.
4.
Rob Lee.
4.
Sean MacDonald.
4.
Leanne McIntyre.
4.
Emma Jane McGrath.
4.
Liz Noble.
4.
Jacques Olmo.
4.
David O'Mahony.
4.
Jonathan Quinn.
4.
Bob Rakes.
4.
Murray Rowlands. 4. Morgan Rise.
4.
John Skipper.
4.
Pat Tedder.
4.
Josh Thorne.
4.
Kevin Thompson.
4.
Ying Ton Perrott.
4.
Victoria Wheeler.
4.
David Whitcroft.
4.
Valerie White.
4.
Richard Wilson.
4.
Thank you, members. I declare the motion carried. Agenda item 10. I would like to invite the Chief Executive to introduce the report on community governance review. Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, councillors. The report before you outlines the outcomes and officer recommendations following the second consultation on the borough-wide community governance review. The officer recommendation is extensive and is set out in the report. The recommendations are based on the council resolution in October 2025 following the previous consultation. In summary, the officer recommendation proposes not to introduce parishes into the unparished areas of the borough. That is recommendation A. Not to alter Bisley or Chobham parish areas. That is recommendation B. To exclude all of Minorca Avenue Deep Cut from West End parish area, as in recommendation C. And recommendation D is the most significant, as we're proposing that a new parish is formed covering the Windlesham Neighbourhood Plan area. Windlesham Parish will therefore consist of Bagshot Ward and Lightwater Ward, and is proposed to be renamed Bagshot and Lightwater Parish. Subject to approval of the officer recommendations, a 4-week draft recommendations consultation will commence on 20th of February, with the proposals being shown in paragraph 1.10. The communications campaign, and noting the comments by Councillor Ashbury earlier on, is set out in detail in Annex E. And whilst there were challenges in relation to the leaflet distribution, and perhaps we should have asked councillors to deliver them on our behalf, I trust that members will see that Office has extended the breadth of its communication campaign far beyond the distribution of leaflets. We placed them in key locations, as expressed in Annex E. We undertook a second leaflet drop. Significant optimised social media campaigns were also conducted through all of our digital channels. We're also grateful to you as councillors for increasing the awareness of the Community Governance Review consultation. The recommendation is before you. Myself and the officers involved within the CGR consultation are happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Stevens. I would like to invite comments on the report and ask a member to move a motion in respect to this report. Yes, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose a motion to accept the recommendations in the officer report and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second that proposal and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're on to the main event, everybody. Members, I'd like to start by thanking all the officers involved in preparing this report from end to end to complete what we committed to in October 2025 by encouraging engagement from residents, processing the consultation feedback and developing fact-based recommendations. I think James Hall, Joe Whitfield, Rachel Willis and Nathalie Boateng all deserve our thanks, as well as Nick Stevens for steering a steady course through turbulent waters with tides and winds pulling the council in various directions. Ditto the members of the working group used as a sounding board throughout. Broadly speaking, we approach this review for 2 reasons: to address the feedback from residents of Windlesham Village for an increased local focus, to mitigate any potential negative impacts for our local communities in the borough of moving to the mega authority of West Surrey Council. You will remember that progressing the CGR offered our residents 3 positive potential benefits: to secure 15% of the community infrastructure levy raised stays in a local area, to provide local ownership for a range of local community spaces and buildings, and to help foster a spirit of community, civic pride and inclusion. Together, we agreed the importance of 2 things in approaching our shared task: subsidiarity, the principle that decisions should be made at the lowest possible level, and self-determination, the rights of the citizens to say how they should be governed. Furthermore, I previously emphasised how in our approach we should be guided by the 4 C's. Compliance, everything we do must align with the law of the land and relevant guidance provided to interpret it. Consistency, everything must be done in line with how others have proceeded in similar situations. Cost, any expenditure must be proportionate to the need to ensure residents' wishes are clearly heard and acted on. And lastly, community, all other factors being considered, local community wishes must be honoured. We have done this and more to place the residents in the navigator seat to guide our shared journey. I made it crystal clear as leader of the council that it was not for me, my group, or indeed anyone else in this chamber to direct a proposed outcome, merely that we should seize the opportunity to give Surrey Heath residents the chance to embrace the options available through this process. The residents have spoken clearly. I trust we have actively listened, and we will now commit to the proposed way forward in the report from the officers without amendment. I recommend the motion to the Council to accept the report. We have taken this process one step at a time, calmly and carefully, and we will continue to do so, with the residents' wishes and the legal framework always in mind. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Ashbury, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, just for clarification, for the Chief Executive, I could have been talking about the Royal Mail news stories this week about their challenges to deliver. But back to the Community Governance Review. We seem to have been discussing this topic for a very long time. Following the extensive consultations, we now have a definitive view of the desires and wants of our residents. Disaggregation of the current Windlesham Parish Council, no changes to Chobham, Bisley or West End Parish Council, and no new parish or town councils to be created in the west of the borough. I would like to thank the Democratic Services officers for conducting these various consultations and for pulling all of the data together into the report this evening. Through the final year of this council, it is now important that we work together to ensure a seamless transition to the new structure in Windlesham, Bagshot and Lightwater. Having seen the statistics from the consultation when they were published last week, we did discuss and agree at exec that an extra work stream should be added to the annual plan for the coming year to look at the potential options of transferring assets from the Borough Council to parish councils where they exist to ensure that local oversight is maintained following local government reorganisation. In parallel, it was agreed to look at options in the west of the borough for potentially safeguarding community use for some assets into the future following their transfer to the new West Surrey Council. Our residents have told us what they want, and we, as public servants, must now ensure that it happens. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Do you have any comments, members? Councillor Quinn and then Councillor Rowlands. Yeah. Councillor Quinn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson then after.
While I'm not surprised, it is disappointing to see the engagement with the consultation among the unparished areas, and I accept there were problems with obviously getting leaflets out to people. But in terms of, I just wanted to address some comments made by Councillor Ashbury and Councillor MacDonald. In terms of community opinion, actually, 54% of those who replied to the consultation in Camberley said they wanted to create one or more new parish councils. So that's a majority in my book. In fact, that's a bigger majority than, for example, the Brexit referendum, which was 52%, 48%. And that was a much greater change. That took us outside of the European Union, the whole country. So I think in line with this, and I have to say also Heatherside Ward, where a majority of people who engaged with the consultation supported one or more parish councils, it would be great to do some more consultation, I think, in Camberley and in Heatherside, and in the other areas too, where they saw a very low uptake, to really ascertain the true community view on this proposal. So I'll keep this speech short. That's my view. And in that aim, I do want to propose an amendment. I wonder if this would be acceptable to Democratic Services, but it's point 1A. And I want to delete all the text after, the bit I want to keep is in relation to the unparished parts of the borough, delete all the text thereafter and say, further consultation with residents will be considered and a report will be brought back to the executive on possible options in due course. So I don't know, so the new 1A would be, in relation to the unparished parts of the borough, further consultation with residents will be considered and a report will be brought back to the executive on possible options in due course. So hopefully that's been recorded, and I would like to propose that, and I believe I would have a seconder for that. Thank you.
Councillor Quinn, do you have a seconder for that? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. So can we debate the amendment, please? Councillor Rowlands, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This, after all our justified congratulations to how far we've moved, this side, I regard this procedure as a serious threat to the basic democratic structure of this council. And I'm sure in the heart of hearts, many of the councillors in the unparished wards think exactly the same. That we're in a situation where, if you like, a large number of the areas of the council are going to enjoy the benefits of having parish councils, whereas a large part of our area will not have that virtue, which to even the untutored would be a very, very unfair situation. And we're in a situation where we will have a deficit in the democratic structure of this council, that in one part of the council there would be people enjoying the benefits of being parished, whereas in other parts of the council there will be a lesser opportunity to partake in the democratic process of the council. So we seem to have got in that situation. We know what the problem was. We endeavoured to consult, and we didn't get enough people. I suspect the reason why we didn't get people coming forward, there was a price tag placed on it. People saw the amount that might be involved in extra council tax and focused in on that. And obviously, this is yes, it is a criticism of the council, but we didn't explain that we would be left with a piebald situation where we had part of our borough enjoying the benefits of having a parish council, whereas the rest of the borough did not have that benefit at all. So I support our amendment that we should have another attempt to go to consult the unparished areas of the council and get a different opinion on this. And I think it's a very urgent matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rowlands. Would any other members like to make a comment? Councillor Glowett. Councillor Glowett, thank you.
Thank you,
and then
Mayor.
Councillor Whitcroft. Councillor Whelan.
Thank you, Mayor. While I agree with Councillor Quinn and Councillor Rowland, I am deeply disappointed that we are not going to have a town council. I actually do feel that having more consultation is not actually going to affect the outcome at all. And the very few people that actually responded, I don't think going out again will actually make any more respond. And sadly, I totally agree. I would love us to have a town council or other councils for the non-parished areas. The general feeling I have is that people just weren't bothered and they're just happy whatever happens, even though we did. I think we explained fairly well the consequences. We had the advantages, the disadvantages of the two. People who looked at it either didn't bother with it or some voted for, some voted against. And I know that it was a very minimal amount in some areas, but I do feel that another consultation would have no effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glowett. Councillor Whelan.
I will be very brief because I'm reiterating what has literally just been said. It's a terrible disappointment that Camberley will not have a town council. It's a terrible disappointment that local representation, once we move to a unitary authority and the LGR is completed, that people will not have access to local representation. But we've been out twice. I know from personal experience that in Camberley leaflets were received. And for whatever reason, our residents don't feel that is something that they can support, albeit those that did respond did support it. It is such a tiny percentage, and the cost would be fairly large. If we were to ask for over 20% of that area to to respond, we're way off. And that's the benchmark that we've been asked to achieve in other areas. So I feel that we were being consistent if we were to go out again. I appreciate that it may well feel like it would be third time lucky. It's down to each of us to make sure that that engagement was listened to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Oh. Councillor Lee and then Councillor Finan-Cook. Councillor Lee.
Ooh, controversial. Rob's going to speak. So, we look at the consultation process that took place, and then we look at the outcome. So I think it's no secret that I knocked on hundreds of doors talking about CGR. Hundreds of doors. And that led to a grand total in the area where I was door knocking of less than 200 people actually taking part. I think that kind of underlines what Mary has had to say. You know, normally I'm all for having a consultation and engaging with the general public. I'm one of the people here that wore out shoe leather day in, day out, week in, week out, knocking on doors and talking to people I was democratically elected to represent. If that door knocking with myself and other elected councillors doesn't motivate a response, I'm not sure, with the precarious financial position this council finds itself in, that it is right to spend more money on this process. I'll observe, obviously, where you see a large number of people clearly voting against that. We saw Councillor Paul Deitch's email clearly lobbying, a former councillor of this council. He was here when disastrous property acquisitions were made that almost brought this council to bankruptcy. And that leads me on to an important point. Why parishes? There are two clear reasons for parishes. The first one, as Councillor Wheeler rightly said, it's important for that local democracy when democracy is being ripped away from local people, but it's also about securing local community assets that will be at risk under the new local authority because of the spending sprees by Conservative administrations across Surrey. Even now, Surrey County Council, which will be abolished in just over 12 months' time, is blowing hundreds of millions of pounds it has no intention of saving. So when Councillor Paul Deitch runs his campaign to oppose parishes, what's his plan to protect our community assets under what's likely to be a bankrupt local authority from day one?
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Finan-Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to briefly sort of echo the disappointment that's been expressed in the chamber. I, too, have spoken to lots of residents in my ward, and they were apathetic about the possibility of a parish council. I come to the chamber tonight with no skin in the game. It wasn't my intention to stand for parish in the same way I'm not standing for unitary. So I have no personal agenda here. But it is disappointing that we will lose that local representation. And I would just like to note that I am concerned about our community assets, about our green spaces, those things that are so precious in my ward of Watchetts and in my colleague's ward of St Michael's. We are very limited in the resources that we have, and what we have are incredibly precious. So although I empathise with your disappointment and acknowledge your amendment, unfortunately I feel that I can't vote for it because I was elected to represent the votes of the residents of Watchetts, and they have not expressed a desire for a parish to me, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Councillor Finan-Cook. Any other members? Would you like to add anything? Councillor Rise.
Thank you, Mayor. I at the last time we were discussing this, when we made the decision to go out a second time, I made the point of we'd consulted at the same time as the LGR consultation. My concern then was that the LGR consultation essentially swallowed up all the oxygen for CGR, and I thought if we did a second one, we would have a higher rate of return. I mean, it's increased, but barely by anything. And I cannot, in good conscience, support an attempt to go out a third time just because we would like to create a town council in Camberley. I am a Liberal by principle, and I believe in ensuring that power is devolved down to the lowest possible level of government. But what I don't believe is imposing government onto people that do not want it. And it is clear from the responses of this consultation that the residents of the unparished areas of Surrey Heath, while they may not want it, they haven't asked for it in great numbers. And there are a whole host of reasons why that may be, and I'm not going to go into they've been discussed. I am just going to finish on this point. Just because we are not going forward with new parish or town councils now does not mean it could not happen in the future. This is not a one-time option because of the unitary authority. If the people of Camberley want to have a town council, they could campaign for it. They could organise petitions and campaigns and drive forward a movement to get that town council. The new authority would have the same responsibility as Surrey Heath Borough Council has in carrying out community governance reviews where there is a request, as we have heard tonight from Councillor Wilson and Councillor Wheeler, that they wrote letters to request this community governance review. That could happen again into the future. So while I appreciate Councillor Quinn's amendment, I think it's unwise, because all it would be doing essentially is spending more money that we do not have on a consultation that probably wouldn't garner any further different results. So I apologise, I won't be supporting the amendment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rise. Councillor MacDonald, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mayor. I think I get to respond to the amendment. Is that not correct? Thank you. So thank you, Councillor Quinn, for your interjection and the proposed amendment. Let's be honest, members. Our residents have lots of other issues in their lives. They have to pay the bills. They have to get their kids off to school. They have to look after their relatives who may need support at various stages in their life. And whilst a number of people, and I probably nearer Councillor McIntyre in terms of the political spectrum I am, for example, Councillor Lee, get excited about these kind of issues, they are generally not that exciting to our residents. Philosophically, I'm fully behind parish and town councils. I think it is a shame that the Labour government has not embraced that as one of the cornerstones of their reorganisation of local government. In fact, they've done quite the reverse, Councillor Quinn. I'm not sure you're aware, but they have basically said they don't want them, and they've made no effort to encourage people to put them there. So, when you're pushing water uphill and Colonel Pennycook doesn't put a dam there for you, what happens is you get wet, and I'm not prepared to get wet again. I put my heart and soul into this, as I know other members have, for I think genuinely the right reasons for our residents, but I can't support the amendment, unfortunately. I think we've gone as far as we can with this one. Yes, it was certainly a brave person that mentioned the Brexit vote in this chamber. So I won't be supporting the amendment, but I do appreciate you raising it in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Any other comments? So we are just going to, unless it's requested, a recorded vote, we're going to show a show of hands for the amendment first. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. So the motion is not carried. We're just returning now to the debate of the substantive motion. Oh, Councillor Garrett? Yes.
Thank you.
Garrett.
This is now
And then Councillor
debate reference to... Yeah, thank you. I've been doing this 6 years now. I still don't fully understand it. Maybe I need to read the Constitution every night before I go to bed. It might help me with my sleeping. Why we all have different priorities, I personally believe the budget remains the main event of the evening. But I understand. That said, I must once again thank the team for the significant time and effort invested in the Community Governance Review, the CGR. It is a complex undertaking and their hard work has not gone unnoticed. It is, however, unfortunate that the response rate from the unparished areas was so low. We must acknowledge that those of us in the chamber live in a bubble of heightened interest. For the average resident, in fact, the consultation ran alongside the LGR, which was probably quite confusing. Why can't we make these things easy to understand? I personally supported the idea of town council as I believe it was a sound way forward. However, looking at the figures before us, while one could argue that the percentage were in favour, the raw number of people who engaged was simply too low to claim widespread resident buy-in. Despite this, I do not believe we should be returning to a further round consultation at this stage. As I think it was Councillor Rice said, this isn't going to be the first bite of the cherry. We can certainly look at it again. Regarding the transition, I want to ensure. So the transition, yeah. So regarding the transition, I want to ensure that as part of the divorce, which is a word I think I might be using that's not correct. I was told last night by Councillor Wheeler it was disaggregation. I prefer divorce, but hey. Remains diligent in recouping all associated costs through the new parish council precept. This must explicitly include the expenses incurred by appointing a locum, because I'm conscious that we in Surrey Heath, as the whole of Surrey Heath, don't want to be paying for all the costs of a divorce, because divorces can be really expensive. I have served as a councillor for 6 years, and throughout that time, the CGR has been a constant fixture on our debate. It is vital that we now move forward with a financial clarity and a focus on what truly matters to our constituents. I can't even say that word. So I'm glad we've finally seemed to have come to a decision. I'm hopeful that it'll all move in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. I read that a typical response rate for a public consultation is about 1% of the affected population. In this one, nearly 40% of villagers in Windlesham took part. Could this be the highest participation rate ever for a consultation like this one? And why did so many people feel so strongly? I've lived in Windlesham for over 25 years. I attend the many public events and groups, and from speaking to villagers over the last decade, opinion has been unified and clear. They do not consent to the current community governance arrangements. They have said this every time they've been asked. The previous administration of Surrey Heath Borough Council denied them their own parish council, which was the clear democratic decision of the population. This meant Windlesham was governed under an undemocratic yoke. Our elected representatives had their decisions on local issues overturned, for example, on the cemetery. The centrally held Hookmill Lane depot was appropriated by the Lightwater councillors for their village. When it is sold, the funds will go to Lightwater only. This means that the taxpayers of Bagshot and Windlesham will be subsidising Lightwater. Only the 5 courageous Windlesham Village Parish councillors and myself were elected by voters. The other 12 councillors were elected unopposed or co-opted. The current parish council is too big, too remote, and too hostile for potential candidates to stand for election. The new Windlesham Village Council, I love the ring to that, the new Windlesham Village Council will have the momentum generated by the One Windlesham campaign. The whole community worked together positively to achieve the future council. Many people who had never campaigned before gave up their time and effort to deliver leaflets, record Facebook videos, put up signs, knock on doors, and spread the word to their friends and neighbours. This will give the new council the best possible start to life. It will be able to focus on village issues, sort out problems in the cemetery, maintain the small amount of parish green space and trees, arrange hanging baskets and Christmas decorations, fund grants to local charities, use SIL money to fund road safety improvements, and preserve Windlesham as the wonderful, friendly village it has always been. Nearly 2 years after I sent the CGR request to the then Chief Executive, I am very proud that this council has opened the door to One Windlesham, and the villagers of Windlesham have walked through it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any other comments? Thank you. Councillor Wheeler. And then...
Thank you. I have a number of times in this chamber accused this council of kicking the CGR for Windlesham into the long grass. Can I say that I'm absolutely delighted that we're now in a position that not only can we cut the grass, but we can decide in Windlesham who's actually doing the cutting of the grass. And that's a very nice position to be in, having sat within a council where I haven't felt empowered when sitting as a parish councillor to be able to make those decisions. I would also like to thank the officers for going above and beyond with this CGR. So when it was acknowledged that there were some challenges with the distribution of leaflets in the Windlesham area, they took extra measures over and above the original measures that were intended to drive some of that engagement. And yeah, we'll never get it 100% right for all of the people. And not every single area could possibly have been covered. But any area that we didn't cover, the way residents of Windlesham picked up. And this whole CGR process has, from when it started many years ago, been a resident-led request, which for me is what the most local level of government is all about. Much as I agree with a lot of what Councillor Wilson has just said, particularly in relation to residents, I will say that since my election at a parish level last year, it's actually not been too bad in the chamber in Bagshot when we've met as a parish council, and some things have been achieved. And I would also like to thank the officers of Windlesham Parish Council that have been involved through this process and who are, like an awful lot of our officers in this chamber at the moment, now going through a period of uncertainty. And I would urge us to move forward as quickly as possible with having a resolution on the way in which the new Windlesham Village Council, or the Windlesham Village Community Council, is governed from April next year. And thank you to everybody for your support. And I'm hoping that I'm not preempting everyone's support in supporting the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Lee? Oh, and then Councillor White. Councillor Lee.
Thank you. I've experienced some interesting hostilities at the Windlesham Parish Council to the level that, as someone who utilises facilities in that area, I was banned from speaking there, along with everybody else that lives outside it, which to me seems pretty dire and toxic, in fact, to the level that councillors had to suspend standing orders on 3 separate occasions to allow me to actually ask valid questions. So I think if the former leader calls it Wexit actually goes ahead tonight, that will be a real victory, not just for democracy, but also for doing the right thing for just innocent members of the public like myself who wanted to ask an innocent, genuine question. So I think the environment has been pretty toxic and pretty difficult, and I think we see that through from multiple witness statements, those in public and those not so public. I think ensuring that those assets are secured during the divorce is critically important. And I think the council's oversight will be vital there, but I trust this administration to make sure it's done to the best of the ability. That turns me to the unparished area and the expected outcome there. I think it's in black and white that there is no mandate to deliver a parish. And I think we heard when I was speaking under the proposed amendment that fell, that I, along with a number of others, including my ward colleague, Councillor Nirmal Kang, between us knocked on hundreds of doors to energise voters. And that shone through with a remarkably low level of responses in that area. Now, there is the argument that the public don't find CGR sexy. Maybe it's just that Richard Wilson and Victoria Wheeler are better poster people for Wexit than Dr. Kang and I are for a parish in an unparished area. We'll leave that to your imagination and creativity. I'm sure someone will find a ChatGPT way of having some fun with some pictures. But what that does lead me on to is an important plea to the leader of the council and also to the chief exec, which is, as we steward ourselves through this final year of this council, wherever possible, could we do our best to secure those assets that are most valuable to our communities, given that we don't know where West Surrey is going to land with finances. We know there are billions of pounds worth of Conservative administration debts that have been run up, which are going to put our community assets at risk. There are billions. And we know, at county council level, with Councillor Paul Deach, for example...
Sorry, Councillor Lee, can I just ask if you're near to wrapping up?
I'm with pleasure, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
With pleasure.
Thank you.
I think we've all been nudged to wrap up. So obviously with Councillor Paul Deach, for example, Conservative at the county council level...
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
More debt puts our assets at greater risk.
Sorry, Councillor Lee. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just get...
Councillor Thorne, would you like to raise a point of order?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Just a quick one on just some clarification. Apologies from a monitoring officer. Is it right that we should be referring to members of the public, whether they be councillors and other councils, when they're not present in this chamber and there to defend themselves? Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think it's appropriate for you to refer to members of the public when they're not here to defend themselves or respond to any comments that you make. So I'd be grateful if you would not do that, please. Thank you.
I'm very happy to withdraw the reference to the named individual and replace it with Surrey County Council.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor White, I believe you requested to speak.
It's with mixed feelings that I stand up, and first of all, I'd like to thank the officers for all the work that they've done with this and the recommendations that are being put forward with CGR tonight. And as chairman of Windlesham Parish Council, I know I'm here as a borough councillor tonight, but take the opportunity. I just hope that we can move forward in the next year without any ill feeling and bad mouthing. It's not necessary, and I feel very uncomfortable with it. It's not something I've ever done to anybody, about anybody, and it's not something I will start doing. I would just ask people to rein it in and just concentrate on what we're there to do, which is to serve the residents, to get on what we're doing. Windlesham, well done in what you've done. You've been listened to. Bagshot and Lightwater have been listened to. Let's get on and do what we're paid to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. Any other comments? Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's no other comments, I think I get to wrap up. Is that correct? Yeah, thanks ever so much. So in no particular order, I think, Councillor White, you make a very good point, and I'd like to encourage all members to embrace the point you made. So thank you for making that. Councillor Lee, you're absolutely correct in terms of securing the assets, and that's why we put it into the plan at the executive to definitely look at what we can do. We're not sure what we can do, but we will try to do what we can, and we'll continue to engage with Windlesham Parish Council in its current format, Chobham, West End and Bisley, to see if there are other opportunities to cascade assets down there as well. Let's hope for the best, but we should plan for the worst as well in terms of the unitary bit. I just want to be very clear on the record, yet again, that this is not about any potential toxic atmosphere at Windlesham Parish Council. That's got absolutely diddly squat to do with the process that we have followed here. And I'll be honest, there have been various parties within this chamber who have tried to encourage us to do things at various stages of the process that were completely inappropriate and would have left us open to judicial review. So those are not criteria that need to be considered in any way. What needs to be considered is what's actually in the legislation and what's in the guidance document. And that is what myself as leader of the council, and I know people will try to second guess my position and how I behaved in this whole process, but the truth of the matter is this is a non-executive function, this is an officer report that's come forward, and we've tried to facilitate listening to the residents wherever they may be within the borough, and then reflecting on that to see how we can bring forward legal and appropriate, suitable and sufficient recommendations to deal with their concerns. So I do want to nip that one very much in the bud. It is also true to say that due to this best practice guidance, which you could drive a coach and horses through, we probably could have done various things, as Councillor Quinn suggested, based on the fairly meagre response rates, and I think others have done that. I just don't think it's right, and I think Councillor Rise made that point very, very clearly. I too am a Liberal, I believe in pushing the power down, and I will be looking to try and sponsor that should residents support me at the future stages, to make sure that we increase the focus of the unitary on various matters as low as possible, and we keep that look and feel. But I think to quote Mr. Hall, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them tick a box, and you can't make them buy into something they don't want to buy into because they've got better things in their life to deal with, and I respect that. So, from my perspective, we've followed the right process, we've taken this steady. I know there's been some bumps along the way, but we've tried to make sure that we've done the right thing. I think the outcome is fairly obvious now from the officer recommendation. I would strongly ask members to reflect on any dissent, I think, from the officer's report. I think it would really send a nice message to the borough if this were a unanimous vote. And I think we're all aware, and I think it links nicely to what Councillor White said, I think we're all aware that we lost the Reverend Jesse Jackson, that a few of us are old enough to remember and very much respected. And I'd just like to finish with a quote from him, which is, at the end of the day, we must go forward with hope and not backwards with fear and division. And that should be our focus going forward to make this work for all the residents in the affected areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. So, thank you. I would now like to move to the vote on the original. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to request a recorded vote.
A request to record it. Do we need 3 people to request?
I'm happy to request a recorded vote as well,
So,
Mayor.
Councillor Wheeler and Councillor Lee, Councillor Kang, yeah. So we're having a recorded vote on the original proposal. Thank you, Mr. Boateng.
Alan Ashbury. For. Louise Ashbury.
For.
Cliff Betton. For. Kel Farnan Cook. For. Lisa Farnan Cook.
For.
Sean Garrett.
For.
Mary Glowett.
For.
Julie Hode.
For.
Dave Ho.
For.
Nimal Kang.
For.
Sarbi Kang. For. Rob Lee.
For.
Sean MacDonald.
For.
Leanne McIntyre. For. Emma Jane McGrath.
For.
Liz Noble.
For.
Jack Olmo.
For.
David O'Mahony.
For.
Jonathan Quinn.
Against.
Bob Rakes.
For.
Murray Rowlands. Morgan Rise.
For.
John Skipper.
For.
Pat Tedder.
For.
Josh Thorne.
For.
Kevin Thompson.
For.
Ying Tong Perrott. 4. Victoria Wheeler.
4.
David Whitcroft.
4.
Valerie White.
4.
Richard Wilson.
4.
Thank you, members. We have 29 for and 2 against. I therefore declare the vote carried. Moving on to agenda item 11, I propose that the recommendation in the report that we agree the revised scheme of proportionality, agree the changes to the membership of committees and note the appointment of Councillor Victoria Wheeler as a co-opted member of the Police and Crime Panel is agreed. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second that proposal.
Do any members wish to speak on this item? Councillor Wilson. Councillor Wilson and Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It has been my privilege to serve on the Surrey Police and Crime Panel for nearly 3 years, after this council voted to appoint me each year. The 14 members of the panel are appointed by the 11 boroughs and districts in Surrey, 1 by Surrey County Council and 2 independent representatives. I have always striven to scrutinise and challenge the Commissioner to the best of my ability to represent Surrey Heath. I think I have been successful, and the sudden importance of appointing 6 new additional members from other political groups is evidence of that. The panel's constitution does say that it should be politically proportionate and that this is the way to achieve it. But it's never been a problem until now, of course. Strangely, the method used to determine the political makeup of Surrey counts all of the members of Surrey County Council, even though the public only elected them for a 4-year term in 2021. The political makeup of Surrey has certainly changed since 2021, but this method will give the Conservative Commissioner more friendly company from members of the panel. Unfortunately, the panel voted at its last meeting to reduce its quorum from a half to a third. This makes me wonder if the new political group co-optees will only turn up for the annual vote on the precept and leave the rest of us to do the real work for the public, which only the panel can do. Also, I think it is unfair on the political co-optees. They will be obliged to represent their Surrey-wide political groups because that who has appointed them and can remove them. They are likely to be under a political whip to represent their political groups. I'm under no whip to vote in any way on the panel because I only represent Surrey Heath. It will also mean some boroughs and districts have 2 members on the panel and some only have 1. And Surrey County Council will now have 3 members despite their mandates having expired and them effectively being unelected. The panel has very limited real powers, which is one of the reasons why the system of police and crime commissioners is a, quote, failed experiment, according to the current minister, when they announced it will be abolished. We don't have any other option but to approve this power grab. It is temporary, almost pointless, but it is suddenly very important to someone. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor MacDonald and then Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. My comments in no way relate to Councillor Wheeler being put on this panel, elevated to this panel. I hope they know what they're about to receive, and good luck to them. I'm sure she will scrutinise in a consistently challenging manner as she does within this chamber. What I do have a problem with is the Police and Crime Commissioner herself, the whole structure of the office, and the way that this is being gerrymandered through at the 11th hour of its life. I think it is a fundamental affront to the residents of Surrey. I also think it does a disservice to very diligent members such as Councillor Wilson, and I think we also know he's not afraid of doing a bit of scrutiny. It's a bit of a shame towards people like that have worked their socks off to try and ensure that the frameworks and the processes and everything that go round ensuring community safety are as strong as possible, and the Police and Crime Commissioner is held to account. So I approached this was discussed multiple times at Surrey leaders. The Police and Crime Commissioner didn't get their way. They seem to have a friend in Surrey County Council that assists in this process. But it is, broadly speaking, outrageous that another 6 people are being thrown on this panel and a quorum being dropped. I do not believe this is in the interests of the residents of Surrey. But again, I would like to thank Councillor Wilson for his work. And I think in the spirit in which we try to operate as an administration, should Councillor Wheeler wish to join the Surrey Heath Partnership, where we look at community safety issues, I wouldn't oppose that as chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Wheeler. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of points. I'm sure that Councillor Wilson will be relieved to know that I am not subject to any whip. And the other thing as well is that by the time the Home Office actually gets round to approving us and making sure that we don't have a deep and buried criminal record somewhere which should preclude us from being on the Police and Crime Commission panel, it may well be too late for us ever to attend it.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Any other comments? So are we all agreed, members? To ask questions of the leader, a portfolio holder, a committee chair, or me as mayor. If there is any confusion about who should receive the question, I will ask the officers to advise, as usual, so everyone can have a chance. I will try to ensure all members have an opportunity to ask a first question before I invite you to ask a second question. Please also keep your introduction to your question as short as possible. Can I now have the first question from members? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an urgent question, really, for the leader. It came up yesterday that Surrey County Council are planning, at the moment there's a temporary mortuary in Bagshaw on London Road beside the Highways depot, and it's got a licence to operate for 5 years, which ends in this July. And Surrey County Council are planning to make that a permanent mortuary. It came into being during the COVID pandemic when there was a fear that there would be a high mortality rate, but it never actually occurred. So it's been very underused. So I was informed of this yesterday by Surrey County Council, and the deadline for public feedback on this is next Monday, the 23rd. So I immediately contacted nearby residents, and they hadn't heard anything about it. They'd received no information at all, and they're going to struggle to be consulted by next Monday. They tell me that the effect of living beside a mortuary is that they often find it difficult to remortgage their flats. And if it becomes permanent, some of them fear they could be stuck there permanently. And as I said, they believe this facility is underused, so they really need to be consulted about the need for it, what other options have been considered, and how their problems are going to be mitigated. And 3 working days is not enough to do this. So would the leader write to the Cabinet member responsible, that's Councillor Bramhall, urgently, and ask her to extend this into a proper public consultation where all the nearby residents are involved, and in the meantime don't take any unchangeable decisions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. A bit like the Small Allotments Act 1908, I'm not up to date on the legislation around mortuaries, be they temporary or permanent. I wouldn't be too aware of the licensing or planning aspects related to this, should there be any. So I think it would be appropriate to take some advice from the officers on this. I am a bit nervous of committing to a letter within the time frame which you've advised, but we'll have a look at it and see where we go. I'm not sure if the officers would like to help me in any way with the answer to this. Should they be aware of whether they've been advised by Surrey County Council of this development within our borough?
Thank you, Mr Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. The only response I can give to the leader's question is that I'm not aware of any approach to the Borough Council in relation to a mortuary within the borough itself, but I can make inquiries tomorrow because I believe I'm speaking to the relevant director in the morning.
Thank you, Mr Stevens. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Rowlands, can we have you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Acknowledging that Rushmore Council has received the commendation of the government for having no rough sleeping in the borough, what steps is the council taking to deal with the problem that we have of rough sleeping?
Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. Councillor Finan-Cook. Councillor Lisa Finan-Cook, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. The figures that we're dealing with in Surrey Heath at the moment, we've got 6 rough sleepers, and I think you're well aware, we've discussed many a time about the activity that our housing officers undertake and the partners that we work with in the community to try and support those people. Everybody who is willing to engage engages with those services, and we do our very best with the ones who are less willing to engage. So our officers are working incredibly hard. I'm very glad that Rushmore, Labour Borough of course, has no rough sleepers, and that is absolutely wonderful, and I'm happy to speak to Rushmore and take some lessons if they are there to be learned.
Thank you, Councillor Finan-Cook. Councillor MacDonald,
With your forbearance, Mayor, could I just add to that?
Yeah, please.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
It is unfortunately, I think, Councillor Rowlands, going to be increasingly challenging for residents of Surrey Heath and in fact West Surrey as a whole to keep homelessness levels at the kind of low levels that we see. And the reason for that is in fact your party's national policy to rob Peter to pay Paul, which was talked about within the budget process. So we will be getting systematically poorer within Surrey, and that money will be going to other places, mainly metropolitan areas. Now, philosophically, I don't have a problem with the money moving around related to need, deprivation levels and ability to pay, but what I do have a problem with is beggaring another part of the country in order for it to happen. So the commendation, I respect that. I've met the leader of Rushmore in the past. So well done to them and the team, but I am concerned that we will see increasing levels of deprivation within Surrey Heath and Surrey as a whole as a function of this money being moved out, not just within the local authorities, but also within the healthcare system.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, and thank you, Lisa Finan-Cook. And Councillor Quinn, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is really a question for the leader. I don't know if he's aware, but actually the topic of Frimley Park Hospital recently came up at Prime Minister's questions. And I was reassured, and I'm sure many residents were pleased, that Keir Starmer said delivering the new hospital was a priority, and that he wanted spades in the ground as soon as possible. So I just really want clarity from the leader, whether he's a builder or a blocker, and whether he will work with government and whether the council will work with government to facilitate getting the new hospital built as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quinn. Councillor MacDonald, would you like to answer? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Quinn. Very much a builder, but it's got to be appropriate development like anything, and that's what our local plan tries to protect for the residents, the one that we hope to adopt later in the year. The currently proposed site by Frimley Park Hospital Trust is just devastating for our residents, and it actually moves the hospital away from those most in need of its use. I don't think anybody can accuse this administration of being a blocker. I think your own national party has been in power for a period of time now, and I've not seen a massive acceleration in the new hospitals programme. It's also a matter of note, I think, from the National Audit Office report that there is a view that by the time we get round to the Frimley Park Hospital, the new Frimley Park Hospital, they'll probably have run out of money because the contingency isn't there to cope with the scale of the projects that they're doing. So don't look over here for any issues at all. They will get the full support from the officers. Again, as you remember, planning is a non-executive function, so it will be nothing to do with the administration. It will be followed, the process will be followed without fear or favour, and it will lead where it leads, which I suspect is probably back with the government to make a decision.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Tedder, can we have your question, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just before I ask the question, I'd like to make it aware that I am a trustee of the Chub and Poor allotment, and I have no authority to speak on behalf of the charity. I'm sure the council is aware of the 2011 Charity Commission, where it discouraged local authorities to get involved with local charities. The CPA, as Chub and Poor allotment, has produced a long and full explanation which they sent to Chobham Action Group to try and dispel the inaccuracies being made and the other claims by the Action Group. Is the leader aware that where possible the charity licenses its land out to support the charity? The leader has praised the property portfolio holder for disposing of council assets in order to for financial security. Would he therefore praise the charity for adopting the same prudent approach? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tedder. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm hoping the monitoring officer will bail me out here if I get this wrong, but I think I've seen advice from the monitoring officer that says that your comment with respect to the 2011 piece is incorrect. So I think that needs to be struck from the record. In terms of the management of the charity, that really is a affair for you and the trustees. But clearly, as has been highlighted, I think, for various statements and including on the Charity Commission website, the charity is not operating in line with best practice in terms of the time that the trustees have been there and the potential relationships within it, unless suitable policies and safeguards are in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor White.
Parking. Who do I address that to? Thank
Councillor Ashbury, I believe.
I've noticed on the on Facebook about the introduction of the Thursday morning reduced parking. Why only Thursday morning, and why Thursday morning? Why not each morning in the week? And wouldn't it be better for an afternoon to encourage more people to come in the afternoon?
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Ashbury.
Thank you for the question, Councillor White. As always, your questions on car parking, particularly in the town centre, are a delight. You will remember back in 2023, as part of the financial challenge that we've talked about as a big part of the budget discussions this evening, we put in place the car parking strategy. We said we would continue to review that in terms of its effectiveness. As that has been relatively successful, despite the declining numbers of people using our car parks, we have increased our revenue. We decided to look at where we could change our offering slightly, which may or may not have an impact. And the evening parking was one, and then the experiment of trying periods where we make it cheaper for people to park to see if that would generate any further parking occasions in our car parks. Thursday morning was chosen as one that is generally very quiet and one that we could conduct that experiment. We will review how that performs as we go through the year, and if it's successful, we may look to extend it to other times in the week, but it's early days yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councillor Ashbury will be glad that it's not about parking from me. I actually don't know who this is going to go to, so I wasn't going to plan on speaking, but it was referenced the homeless conversation. I was in town yesterday. I noticed that the door Primark, which the Biting and Way entrance, where there had been a tent which had been there for a while. Suddenly there is a barrier been built up. A wooden barrier has suddenly appeared against that door. And it made me think, why? Is it a permanent structure? Is it just to keep the tent from going back there? And I'm not aware, this isn't a loaded question, was that not a fire exit? Because if it is, we've just blocked it up with a big lump of wood. So I'd just like to get a feeling on that. It literally was going up yesterday afternoon.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Councillor MacDonald? Oh, Councillor, no, sorry. Sorry, our Chief Exec, yeah. Mr Stevens, would you like to? So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a councillor. So, just to give a brief summary, the hoarding is there to try and deter further encampments. It's not being done by us. It is effectively private property. It's not public space. I do believe there will be further dressing to make it far more attractive than it currently is. I think that might answer all of your questions, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mr Stevens. There doesn't appear that any other questions? Oh, Councillor Rowlands. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, allowing me a second one. What steps are Surrey Heat taking in response to yesterday's national figures of 16.1% rate of unemployment among the 16 to 24-year-olds? We may not have as high a rate as that, but certainly you would have to be blind to not be aware that there is a certain number of people in our community who are in that age group who are not in employment at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Rowlands, for your question. I think they are quite worrying stats. I think any of us with young people, who've had young people, maybe even been young people, which probably most of us, it's very important that people are able to get on the ladder of employment, to learn those life skills. I myself did it at the Queen's Hotel in Farnborough, doing waitering, and at Penny Hill as well. I mean, it's very important that people get the opportunity to learn those life skills and then build their careers from there. It's particularly sad, I think, when people have, put the effort into education and everything else, that they're not then able to get an employment. And I think we probably all know people within this room who are in that situation. So I don't think we have a philosophical problem with you challenging us there. I think what I do have a problem with is that we just don't have the resources or the remit for that area. What we do have is we have the workshop, which was mentioned, I think, in my leader's announcement, that we've continued to get the support from DWP. That does help, particularly, I think, young people into employment. I don't have the numbers to hand, but I'm sure the officers would be happy to dig out the latest P&F report or similar that relates to this, and we can feed those numbers back to you in terms of what we're actually doing. But I'm sure you'll get no pushback from anybody here in terms of trying to get people into employment and building those skills, and then the well-being and everything else that comes with it. So thanks very much, Councillor Rowlands, for that. And speaking on a personal level, my father was unemployed for 18 months, and you see what people go through in that period. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Any other questions? So that concludes the business of tonight's meeting, and I would like to thank everyone for attending, especially the members of the public over there. Thank you very much. Wish you all a very safe journey home. you.